Everything you need to know about a Toyota Sequoia Platinum. So beside me is a brand new 2025 Toyota Sequoia Platinum. And this is a big deal because never before has Toyota taken aim at the Ford Expeditions and the Chevy Tahoes like they have with this full-sized SUV. This is the third generation Sequoia, and why it's also a big deal is the previous Toyota Sequoia ran for over 15 years, which means it's got a loyal following and a reputation for being indestructible, off-road capable, incredibly reliable, and exactly what Toyota owners have come to expect. This thing is massive, and I think they did an incredible job with the styling. Now, most people will probably tell you this is number 4 out of the top 4 full-size SUVs on the market, but I'm going to take a deep dive into all the things I love and all the things that maybe could be worked on a little bit better to compete in this full-size body-on-frame SUV category.
I'm Jeff Batchelor, and I love cars. I love the look, I love the design, and I love the emotion that you feel. I love the history, brand stories, marketing strategy, and automotive trends. I love engineering, types of propulsion, engine specs, drivetrain, and performance, and I love the interiors, layouts, smell, and the gizmos and gadgets and bells and whistles. But I don't only love cars, I also sell them. If you love this content and want to chat about a purchase, text me at 416-523-6585. Now back to the video.
This third generation Toyota Sequoia is a full-size SUV. It fits above the 4Runner and above the Grand Highlander and above the Land Cruiser in the Toyota lineup. It's actually the second largest SUV Toyota has ever produced. And this third generation Toyota Sequoia comes with 6 different trim levels to make sure it can meet all the needs of its owners. We have the SR5 to begin with, the Limited, and like I said, this Platinum. But we also have an ultra luxe Western themed 1794 edition. We also have an ultra premium capstone edition, and then we have the famous TRD Pro edition as well. No matter if you're looking for the premium, the value, or the off-road monster, there's a Toyota Sequoia that's been modeled just for you. Now, this Toyota looks bigger than any other Toyota you've ever seen. You're absolutely right. It falls into the full-size category, which means it's the SUV or wagon version of that company's truck. Chevy does it really well with the Silverado and the Tahoe. GMC does it with the Sierra and the Yukon. Jeep and Ram do it with the Ram 1500 and the Jeep Wagoneer, and Ford does it with the F-150 and the Expedition. Well, here we go. This is now a Toyota Tundra SUV, a body-on-frame SUV, which Toyota decided to borrow the exact same styling from their Tundra. In fact, I think the Sequoia looks even better than the Tundra and even better than most of the other full-size SUVs in its category. Now, if you're wondering what's powering this massive Toyota SUV, it's the same powerhouse available in the Toyota Tundra truck. Many people were worried that the new replacement to the V8 engine that was known to be so reliable was not going to have the same power or punch, but man, are you wrong. So for 2025, the Toyota Sequoia only has one engine option, and that is the new iForce Max turbo hybrid. Now, this might not be the one and only reason why you buy a Toyota, but I've looked under the hood of a lot of these full-size SUVs, and usually it's pretty darn boring. You pop the hood of this iForce Max and boom, you see 2 massive exposed air intakes with K&N air filters. You see chrome intake pipes leading into the engine. All those orange cables have to do with the hybrid system, making it powerful and very good on gas. This engine puts out 437 horsepower as well as 583 feet-pound of torque, which means this Toyota, equipped properly, can also tow 9,500 pounds with ease. Now let's talk exterior styling. As I mentioned, the Sequoia borrows very many styling cues from the Toyota Tundra. The front quarter panels, the headlights, the front doors, the grille, and I think that was an incredible move. So many of these full-size SUVs just look like school buses. They're boring, they're not exciting, and Toyota took the opportunity to make something that looks different than everything else in the class. If you want a school bus, go get a Suburban or go get a Yukon. If you want something with presence that looks stately, you go get a Wagoneer or a Grand Wagoneer. But if you want something that looks different, unique, tough, brawny, I think the Toyota Sequoia is the vehicle for you. Now, right up front, we've got some beautiful LED headlights, again, borrowed straight from the Toyota Tundra. The LED daytime running light and turn signals form a sideways T, which is a nice little Easter egg that Toyota has done with their Sequoia and their Tundra. As you can see, we have an enormous front grille, bigger than any BMW grille, which is already the company that gets made fun of for big grills, but this grille is absolutely enormous, okay? And then out front, we've got nice LED fog lights that are blended really seamlessly into the grille. Like I said, I actually love the look of the Toyota Sequoia and can't get enough of it. Along the side, we've got big, giant wheel arches. These wheel arches are made to look even bigger by the offsetting color fender flare that is around the wheel. Then that flare is offset by these deep body lines, which makes these wheel arches just so pronounced. It's what gives this Sequoia such a bulldog stance. Absolutely love the styling on it. Then alongside, again, these are door panels right off a Toyota Tundra. We've got the nice platinum trim level spear, which lets you know exactly what trim level of Toyota Sequoia you're driving. And then around back, again, the same thing with these flares around the wheels, making the wheel arches look bigger. The deep grooves in the body cladding that makes the wheels look so pronounced. This Sequoia has an imposing stance and it is sure to turn heads. Around back, we've got horizontal sequential taillights, so they do that fun little dance like so many SUVs do these days. It is a big, flat, wide design with not as much design put into it as the side panels, but there's not really too much more that you're looking for back here. One really nice thing that Toyota maintained is the ability to have a rear glass that can open separate than the rear tailgate. All right, now once you are inside your Toyota Sequoia Platinum, you won't be disappointed with this interior. Even though the Platinum isn't the top offering from Toyota, this interior still impresses. Beautiful black leather seats with a contrast blue stitching, which is subtle enough to make it feel higher end, but not too obnoxious to throw off any particular buyer. Now, Toyota isn't necessarily known for having the nicest interior, so don't expect anything crazy. There's still a lot of hard angles, things that stick out, and a lot of hard plastics, but Toyota has come a long way with their interiors, and this one does not disappoint. The only areas you're going to find soft touch materials in this Toyota interior is at the top of the dash, the tops of the door sills, and the armrest. So at least they got it in the important areas. But if you're thrown off by cheap plastic, there's a lot of cheap plastic on the interior. All right, now that we are inside this Toyota Sequoia Platinum, the theme of this entire review is going to be the stuff that I love and the stuff that Toyota really missed the mark on. Now, first off, this steering wheel is a beautiful, well-appointed steering wheel. feels rugged, has a nice textured leather with open grain, beautiful blue stitching, thick bolsters, perforation in the leather, and the buttons exactly where you want them. On one side, you have everything to do with your media, your music, and your phone. And on the other side, you have everything to do with your safety driving systems. They did an amazing job with the steering wheel. However, once you look through the steering wheel, even though this is a 12-inch wide digital instrument cluster, very little of it is customizable, and the graphics look like they're out of a 1980s video game. Do better, Toyota, do better. Now, something that I don't like is this cluster of buttons by the driver's knee. Although this is a very common place for manufacturers to put buttons, nobody can see what any of those buttons do. So unless you've got a great memory or you like looking around the steering wheel, these buttons are in a very awkward position and not very convenient for the driver. Now, other stuff that I love about the interior of this vehicle are the seats. I mentioned them before, and although they don't scream luxurious, they are very adjustable. Not only are they heated and cooled, but you have the 12-way adjustable power functions as well as the extendable thigh bolster as well. That really allows you to dial in the perfect settings for your seat. We also have memory settings so you can lock those seats in. And guess what? A Toyota that has massaging seat functions as well. Not a Lexus, a Toyota. All the other competitors in this field only give the massaging seats to their highest trim level. However, Toyota has the massaging seats in their Platinum Edition. Now, this Toyota infotainment system is ridiculously simple, and I wish more vehicles would mimic this type of system. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Mercedes. Now we have your navigation, very responsive, very easy to use. We've got your music, doesn't get any easier. You choose your source, and then you're straight into your functions. Your phone, which you have the ability to have wireless CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, and then your vehicle options and settings. It doesn't get any easier. Great job, Toyota. Now, another plus for Toyota, manual buttons for the climate controls, easy to use, easy to recognize, and not only climate controls for the front, but climate controls for the back. Usually the rear climate controls are hidden behind different screens and not accessible by the front seat. This is a good thing that Toyota has done. Also, all these buttons are very nice to touch, rugged, tactile, and very functional. Although I find most consumers these days enjoy having a shifter to shift their vehicle into gear, one that they can rest their hands on and they've gotten used to, a console shifter often sacrifices the convenience of extra storage in the center console. This Toyota suffers from exactly that. We've got a small cradle for a cell phone, very small cup holders that won't hold any large mugs or travel coffee cups. And then this center console, I'm not sure what's going on. This top pocket isn't even big enough to fit 2 or 3 pens in it. We can slide back this tray to discover a storage cavity below, or we can flip it up, but it all just seems very awkwardly designed and not very easy to use. Plus, most other vehicles, especially the Ford, Chevys, and Jeeps, have double if not triple the amount of storage for the front seat passengers. Now, this Toyota also features a few different drive modes, which I really like. We get a large tactile dial to scroll between Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport S, Sport S Plus, and even a customizable drive mode. Another thing I love about this Toyota Sequoia is the ability to actually change it from 2-wheel high to 4-wheel high. Most full-size SUVs like this only have a 4-wheel or all-wheel drive system, whereas this Sequoia allows you to put it into 2-wheel drive. As we move along to the second row, Toyota has done a real good job with making it look very spacious, but don't be fooled. If you are comparatively shopping this against the other full-size SUV, it really is not the best in pretty much any of the metrics. There's still a large transmission hump that doesn't allow a flat floor in the second row. There's a console between the two seats that don't leave a clear pass through, and although all of its competitors seem to have some sort of tilt and sliding mechanism, this Toyota Sequoia is like it was made in 2007, only has a tumble forward system to get into third row. If you had a child seat or something fixed to this seat, you are now left with the only pass through to the third row being between the seats, where I already mentioned there's stuff that's in the way. Now on the bright side, again, the finishings are really nice. You get heated and ventilated seats in the second row. You get a big giant moonroof to stare up to, and in the second row we've also got the window shades. So those are a few good points. Good on you, Toyota. Now, a few other things to point out in this second row. You have some nice pockets on the back of the seats. However, in a full-size SUV, I prefer the hard plastic on the back of the seats because we all know the little ones will be kicking the back of the seats. I really worry that the soft materials on the back of these seats are going to show their wear after some time with it. Also, we have a great variety of buttons, temperature controls, and options for the second row occupants. We've got a 3-prong household style power outlet. We've got 2 USB, 1 USB and 1 lightning charge ports, and we also have the climate controls. Even though there are power outlets in the second row, all the other offerings in the full-size SUV have twice, if not 3 times more power outlets in the back row. All right, so to access the third row, I'm gonna flip up the seat and squeeze back here. All right, now that we're in the third row, let me talk about, again, the things that I like before I talk about the things that I don't like. The third row has got not 1, but 2 cup holders, which they did a good job, which means we actually have 4 total cup holders for the third row. Also, the third row has its own window shade. Great job, Toyota. We really appreciate that. As well as we have reclining seats. Now, what's missing back here? Well, number one, I don't see any power outlets. And if you're getting a 3-row SUV, your third and second row are probably for kids who are gonna need a place to plug in their devices. Also, because of the aforementioned way that the rear suspension and battery layout, these seats don't allow the rear seat passenger much room to put your leg. It's very awkward to have your knees all the way up in your lap. Plus, I'm a small guy, nearly a full-grown adult, and I don't even have enough headroom back here. All right, now that we're around back of this Toyota Sequoia, there's so many things that I love, but also hate about this full-size SUV. Like, how can you have an SUV this big with such a terrible storage area behind the third row? I don't even think I could fit a Subway sandwich in back here. It's so limited, all right? Now, part of that is because of the suspension system you have in this vehicle. When you fold down the third row, it doesn't go into the floor, it just sits on top of the floor, like the old Tahoes did, which I always used to complain about. Also, the battery systems are in an area where most other 3-row SUVs actually double up to have extra storage in the floor. So the back seat, Toyota gets a big womp womp for that. However, Toyota does gain some points because they have done a few things clever that I have not seen any other 3-row SUVs do. First, the third row actually slides forward. No way! They couldn't figure out how to do that in the second row, but they got it right in the third row. You can now slide that third row forward if you don't have occupants in it, which will allow you to have extra storage back here in the third row. Second thing they decided to do is, because this area was so small, they created this little shelf, okay, which you can put into different positions. So if you have a bunch of tiny little objects like teacups, you can line up a couple of teacups in here instead of big hockey bags. I mean, it's half solves the problem, half doesn't, because when you don't have enough real estate to put stuff, I guess the only solution is to put a shelf in there so you can divide and conquer. Now the third row seats are power folding like most other vehicles in this category. 2 buttons and they fold down. But as I mentioned, they just sit on top of the floor. They don't actually clear up any storage space whatsoever in the third row. The only true way to have a flat area in the back of this Toyota Sequoia is to adjust this little shelf. But once you do that, there's not even enough room left over between the roof here for anybody's golden retriever to sit in, or for you to stack any hockey bags or anything useful. Now there's a few other really nice design cues I think Toyota did a great job with. This A-pillar is blacked out, and the further you get away from this Toyota Sequoia, the cooler the styling looks like. It looks like the roof is just floating above the windows. However, there is one design element that I really don't like about this Toyota Sequoia, and that's these optional tow mirrors. Now if you are towing, of course you need the big mirrors, but if you aren't, try to get one without them, because I think they are an absolute eyesore. Especially when you're driving the vehicle, the mirror creates a bigger blind spot than an aid to you. So there's a couple very unique advantages to buying a Toyota Sequoia. If you're looking for a vehicle in the full-size SUV market, the Toyota Sequoia has proven in the past to hold up to the test of time, also be unbelievably reliable, and for anyone who cares about resale value, it has a predicted 3-year resale value of over 65%. That means a $100,000 Toyota Sequoia will still be worth 65 grand after 3 years, where a $100,000 Chevy Tahoe will be worth less than 50 grand. So if you care about resale, the Toyota is probably for you. Now, my favorite parts about this Toyota Sequoia are its rugged looks, inside and out. It's super powerful and super fun to drive engine, and as well as the incredible reliability and resale of Toyota. What I don't like about this Toyota Sequoia is how poor the third row was designed. This does not have the independent rear suspension of its counterparts, and thus the rear seat and storage area are drastically compromised. Plus, the batteries from the hybrid system also take up much of that area as well. If you really need to use the third row, there's going to be some other 3-row SUVs I would put higher on the list than this Toyota Sequoia. So if you're looking for a full-size SUV with best-in-class this or best-in-class there, or the nicest interior or the coolest bells and whistles, that's not gonna be the Toyota Sequoia. But if you just want a full-size SUV that looks really freaking awesome, is bound to be reliable, and has unbelievable resale, the Toyota Sequoia might be your next SUV.